Bonjour, friends. Welcome back to Generator. I can't believe we're in the month of May. And that just makes me pause because I feel like I just recorded my episode about how to start the new year and all the tips and tools and things we can do to try to have a strong start to this wonderful new year ahead. And here we are in May. And I think I haven't accomplished all the things that I wanted to. I don't know how you're feeling. And that makes me feel stuck. It makes me feel really stuck and frustrated. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because I've had so many conversations with people recently about feeling stuck and frustrated and feeling like they're just waiting for this next moment of themselves to arrive. And in that waiting, there's the fear and frustration of, what is that next version of themselves? Can they be something else? Welcome to Generate Her. I'm Jane Bertch. I spent the first half of my life working in a corporate organization, and then I decided to trade that all in to become an entrepreneur. Yes, here in your favorite city of Paris, France. And today, I hope I'm a guide on your journey to personal reinvention and transformation. So I don't know whether or not this will surprise you. Maybe it'll give you comfort. I share those frustrations. I share those fears. I share that anxiety of what else can I be? What else can I be besides Jane that runs a business in Paris? And I think about all the amazing people I've had this same conversation with who are really, really very accomplished people in my eyes, and they should be in their eyes too. But they have this discontent with feeling stuck. And so I've been sitting and thinking about that. Why? Why are we discontent? And I don't think me and my handful of friends are the only people. There's got to be a few more of us out there. And then I came to realize, this is my theory, me being a scientist, that we're feeling that because we're feeling one-dimensional. We're feeling one-dimensional rather than feeling like there's all these wonderful versions of ourselves. We feel like we're only seen as this one thing, whether it be a mother or a father, or perhaps somebody that runs a business, or a friend, or somebody that is a chef. We're only allowing ourselves to see that version of ourselves. And if we want to dare to break out of it, we struggle to find what is that other version? Or how about plural? Heaven forbid, versions. And every time I have these questions, which I do, I marinate over them, I journal over them, and I try to ask myself, where can I find examples that challenge this idea that we are just one thing? Because we truly are. And if we fail to see that, and the friends around us fail to see that, that's a really big pain point. So enter my favorite culture and city, Paris, France. It dawned on me that this is one of the reasons I love this city, because nothing is one-dimensional. Nothing is one-dimensional here. The French love complexities, and you see that all over Paris. So I wanted to, one, just open the discussion to say, I feel that no one is 100% happy. If they are, I think they are a psychopath. We all have areas where we want to do better, where we want to be better, where we want to live better. That to me is business as normal. That's business as usual. That's the business of us that has to come before every other business we work in. And whether that business be raising a family, or that business be owning a company or working in a company, our first point of call is the business of us. So how does France teach us about the business of us and being these multidimensional people that we actually are? Where are the examples? I don't have the answers here, but I want to share with you some of the things that have dawned on me that give me hope. Let's start with the beauty in the city. A door knocker in Paris is not just a door knocker. Yes, you can use it that way, but have you stopped to look at them? Have you stopped to look at they are pieces of art. They're magnificent. They're not just used to knock on a door. I've seen whole Instagram accounts dedicated to door knockers. And what about doors? Yes, they're practical, but they're created in a sense of aesthetic. And let's talk about buildings. I can tell you that's probably why you love Paris, because the harmony of the colors and the beautiful buildings, they're not just places that people live in. They themselves are works of art. A beautiful example of that is the Grand Palais. It's an exhibition hall. It's simply an exhibition hall on paper. But if you step back and look at it, it's a magnificent feat in architecture. It has the biggest glass roof in Europe. Isn't that a wonderful example? Isn't that a beautiful reminder that we don't just have to be one thing? And we can find those all around us. And speaking of one thing, this I've really picked up in the culture here, and I've come to appreciate it. My French colleagues and my French friends, they are incredibly multidimensional. I may only get to see one side of them, but that's purposeful. My French colleagues I see in a business context, and that's the way they interact with me. And they don't blur the lines. They're very okay with those boundaries. And perhaps that's the answer. The boundary allows them to not just be one thing. If you have no bounds, it's one. But the moment you're able to erect boundaries, you have multiple things. You've carved them out. So I see them as a professional. Their friends and family see them in a different way. Perhaps those that they have cultural interests with see them in a different way, or the people that they have a hobby with see them in a different way. They're not trying to make everything the same. And I love that. And I've really come to appreciate that. And it's been an example that I'm trying to learn from. So even in my time working in financial services, these people that I knew as very serious, focused banking professionals had a whole other side of them. They often sought out culture. I remember running into one of them in a museum, and I don't know why I was shocked. Naivete. How naive of me to think that this person has no life outside of the place they were. And while it appeared to me that way, I actually saw them in a museum, and I didn't interact with them. I didn't dare disturb them. I saw them in a museum with their child from behind, but I knew right away it was them. And I had this beautiful insight to this other magnificent person just watching them. And I was dazzled and surprised with the softness and the play and the curiosity. It shocked me. And I still think about that because I think how wonderful, again, to be able to have these different versions, but only if you allow yourself to express them. And I think only if you have those boundaries. Had I have seen that version of them in the office, it probably wouldn't have felt appropriate. And speaking of versions of them, I have the pleasure of having a lot of friends that are parents. But what I can tell you that my French friends do very well is they are my friend. First and foremost, that is the relationship I have with them. They are not a parent when they are with me. They are not a parent when they are with me. I oftentimes forget that they have a whole family ecosystem behind them. I forget that they are a senior, very influential person in their company. That does not exist. We don't care. What I get of them is friendship. And that's thanks to their efforts and their diligence to put boundaries. And isn't it so wonderful to be able to express yourself in different ways? Let me just give you one more example, and then I want to go on to give you a few tips of what I try to do. In France, we love experts. Experts are king. And if I think about the sacred boulanger, the boulanger is the person who owns a boulangerie and makes bread. Now, if you didn't know, boulangerie is actually a legal term. You cannot just open a boulangerie in France because you decide. You can open a place that sells bread, but you certainly cannot use the name boulangerie. It's actually governed by a body called the Syndicate of Boulangers. And you can imagine all the training and diligence that goes into these and all the restrictions. But it's a sacred title. Ultimately, they make bread. Now, are they just bread makers? No. Because bread is such a foundation to our ecosystem here. They're people that every time we have discussions around the economy, they're involved. So they're not just seen as a bread maker. They're people that can tell you what the citizens of this city are thinking and feeling. They're so implicated in that part of France. And I think, isn't that beautiful? Let's just challenge ourselves to not be just this one thing. Can't we be many? So I hope some of those So I hope some of those examples might intrigue you or just make you stop to think, how can I explore the different versions of me? How can I find them? How can I test them? And I can tell you they're there. I can also tell you I share that frustration. I share that anxiety when every time I feel like I am reduced to Jane that has a cooking school in Paris. That's a very, very sad moment for me if I feel like that's all I am. So here's the things I'm trying to do to test that and push my boundaries. I'm talking to you here today on a podcast. I'm not talking to you about croissants and Eiffel Towers. I'm wanting to share that other side of me, another dimension of me. So whether or not anyone listens, I'm talking into this mic, perhaps just for myself, and that's okay, to test my voice around being a different person. I started a Substack newsletter. Again, I'm not writing about where to eat. I'm not writing about Eiffel Tower sparkling. I'm writing about my discovery of life with the wonderful things I've learned here in Paris. Now, out of those two things, the interesting thing is I had a friend who said to me, and I want to get the words right because it was really poignant. She said, "What are you making out of these things?" She said, "Jane, I know you're spending a lot of time and money. How are these things paying you back?" And I thought, wow. One, I didn't have an answer to it. I didn't have an answer to it. And yes, they're expensive in time and money to do those two things. But it's not what I'm making out of it. It's what I'm getting out of it. And I'm getting so much out of it. And most importantly, I decided I am making the investment in my explorations to see how I love this. Maybe nobody will read my newsletter. Maybe nobody will listen to the podcast, but I decided to make the investment in me to allow me to explore these new versions of myself. So that's what I'm doing. And I challenge you to do the same. The other thing I'm doing is I journal. You've heard me say it over and over and over again, but I really do believe in the power of picking up your pen or pencil in the morning. I always journal in a pen, by the way. I don't know why. To write out your thoughts. And I'm not talking about your to-do list. This is not the place for that. This is not that. This is where you write out your thoughts and you get deep with yourself on how you feel. And just being able to express it or not will tell you a lot about what you need to do. So I encourage you to journal. That's what I'm trying to do. Number 3, I encourage you to seek out culture and broaden your mind. Find those other versions of yourself. They're there. You are to be an archaeologist, pulling back all that dirt to get to them. And I find a way to do that. And I've taken note from my French friends, seeking out culture, reading, going to museums, making the time to expose your mind to something else. And lastly, friends. We need to talk about the friends. This is a big one. You need to surround yourself with people that are loud about encouraging you. You need to surround yourself with people that are loud about encouraging you to test and find the best version of yourself. Those silent people that just sit back and watch, I'm not going to say they're not friends. I have plenty of them. But I know they're not ready to see a new version of Jane. For whatever reason. So I need to surround myself with people who are, and we're on that journey together. There we are. So those are my 4 tips. Now, what I will tell you above all of that is do the work. I've got no other way to say it. Do the work. I can give you a whole host of things I'd love to do, and I'm frustrated because they haven't advanced. And if I sit with myself, I know it's because I haven't given them the time and space and effort that I've dedicated to other things. So shame on me. So I hope in listening to this, you take away that everybody's on a journey. Everybody's on a journey to finding themselves. But journeys take work. There's a path to be on. A journey is not standing still. And we're all on it. No matter how we look from the outside, everybody's on that journey. And on that journey, you have the right to discover so many different beautiful versions of yourself, no matter what your age is. There's more of you yet to come. The pages in your book from this moment right now onwards are blank. You can write them. So I hope you continue to explore. I hope you use some of those fun references about France and Paris, from a door knocker not just being a door knocker, it being a work of art, to a building being an incredible feat of architecture, to a boulanger being the person that comments on the French economy. I hope you remind yourself of those little examples of how you can be so many different things at once. And you have the right to explore them. And I hope you do, because you'll find really, really great things. So, my friends, if you know anyone that needs to hear this, please share it. And if you enjoyed it, please take time to give me a rating. You know how important those are. And you know I love journaling. If you're struggling to journal, I have journal prompts on my website, janebertch.com/journal. And I'd love to know how you feel. Shoot me a note. Tell me what other versions of you you're wanting to explore. I think there's hundreds of them, and they're beautiful. And I hope you find each and every one. So until the next time, my friends, à bientôt.